Welcome back to the Iron County Fair Ag Barn. I'm your host with Talking Ag, McKennan Hansen. I'm really excited for our next guest because it's Celeste Maloy, and as all of us know, she is running for Congress, and I'm so excited because where her roots are, she is so passionate about making sure ag stays alive across the country, really, but specifically in the state of Utah.
Yeah.
So Celeste, give us kind of a backstory to that. Why are you so passionate for ag?
Well, I grew up in a really small town where most of the people were involved in agriculture. I was involved in 4-H and FFA growing up, and I have an agriculture degree from SUU. I actually have three. I have a bachelor's degree in plant science, an associate's degree in animal science, and a certificate in farm and ranch management. And while I was a student at SUU, I started working for the USDA, actually with your father-in-law. So we were in the same building then, and I really liked working with people who are involved in ag. I liked the idea that I was helping people solve problems, but I especially liked that I was helping people solve problems that kept them growing food and keep this country going. I love that the families who are involved in ag are the anchors of their communities. All of these little towns in Utah, the people who are involved in farming and ranching are the ones who've been there for generations. They're the ones who anchor the schools and keep the businesses open, and it's the lifeblood of our communities, and I love representing that and making sure that I'm removing roadblocks and making it so people can continue this lifestyle. Their kids can grow up and be involved in ag. They can make a living and stay where they are.
It's really important too, because as we go through those different generations, there's generational changeover.
Yes.
And some farms survive and some don't.
It's true.
You know, granted, I think all of the development between industry and ag, there creates different synergy for different times of need. We've gone through a pandemic in the last little while, you know, and it seemed like all the southern Utah communities, granted, I don't go north of Nephi very often. In fact, I'd probably call Salt Lake north of Nephi, not even knowing. But you go through that, and the southern half of the state seemed to band together.
Yeah.
We made sure that all of our neighbors had food. We made sure that the different things, and all because of our agriculture and why it's so strong here.
Yeah.
I recently found out that my family's been in Iron County since 1853.
Wow.
And so I'm 7th or 9th or something generation between all of that. But it really gives you a sense of purpose when your roots are that deep.
Yeah.
Now, my family's no longer in a production capacity, but knowing that I have that heritage has instilled many more principles for me as an individual, because you have kind of an inherent right to protect those things and make sure people are educated about them. We really appreciate people in the legislative office, you know, in making sure that our roadblocks are navigated appropriately.
Yeah.
With all of the different things and being passionate with agriculture, how have you taken some of the principles that you were raised with into your own home?
Well, I mean, when I was growing up, my parents actually moved to where I grew up, which is a little town in Nevada called Hyco, to work on a ranch. And my dad worked in a mine when I was young, and he's working on a ranch again now. And they taught my siblings and I a lot of hard work. You know, if you work hard, you'll be successful. If you find a way to serve people and work hard at it, you'll be successful. But also things like you don't quit until the job's done. And, you know, there's the law of the harvest. If you invest effort now, it's going to pay off down the road, and not everything has an immediate payoff.
You mean patience?
Yes. And those are things that have really served me well over the years. Even I was recently talking to somebody about, I spent 10 years right out of college living and working in Beaver. I was working for the NRCS, working with farmers and ranchers, but I was really young. I was 21 when I moved there. I was 31 when I left, and that's a big chunk of my young life. And for a lot of the time I was there, it felt like the work I was doing was important, but I was in this little corner of the world and, you know, living a quiet life, and nobody ever noticed me or knew what I was doing. And I can see now, down the road a little bit, that those years and those experiences I had are bearing fruit now. and it's just been amazing to me how much those years in Beaver have mattered as I've gone on and done other things.
Well, and I feel like to some degree it also goes to show that we never know what our action today will produce in the future.
Right.
And our ability to see, to some degree, a little bit into the future of, well, if I eat marshmallows for dinner or carrots for dinner, what's going to happen to my blood sugar, right? But if you take one step today, it's a lot different than 100.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it also teaches us that any one step in any direction is a good direction. It's a direction.
Yeah.
Right? But as we go through those different processes, I have no idea the impact that I leave. And I will never know that because I can't ever see past.
Right.
Right? And the feelings that we leave with people is what's key to that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, specifically in Beaver, they're a very tight-knit community.
Yes, they are.
Very tight-knit. And even more so, I mean, it might be slightly bigger than Heiko. It's been a while since I've been to Heiko.
It's a lot bigger than Heiko, but I love to tell people a story, and I hope he won't mind. But when I got hired to work for Congressman Stewart, his chief of staff is from Beaver. His name's Clay White. And when I moved from Cedar City to Beaver, I was in the same ward as Clay and his family, so I went to church with him. He was still in high school. I had just finished college. I'm about 4 years older than him. And neither one of us would have ever guessed that 12 years later, he would be my boss, and we'd both be working in politics. And I used to tell the interns that story all the time, and I'd say, you know, just you're sowing seeds all the time, and you don't know when they're going to bear fruit. So be good to the people around you, because the people who seem like they're not important today may be people who are really important to you later on. You know, you may be the boss today, they may be the boss later on. When I was a college graduate and Clay was a high school student, I didn't have any reason to think that someday he would be my boss.
Right.
I hope I was nice to him. I don't really remember. He's never told me that I wasn't. But you just don't know. You don't know how life's going to turn out and how people's roles are going to change. So just be decent, take care of your neighbors, live by the golden rule like all of our parents have taught us.
Really, though, and when we pair that with hard work, it really goes to show the different, you know, really the fortes of what our purpose is here.
Yeah.
You know, if my purpose is different than yours, but together they create synergy, then that's fulfilling and making sure the world's a better place.
Well, and ag communities are so good at this. You're from a small town, I'm from a small town. We both lived in these communities where people, they show up for each other. They take care of each other. If somebody's sick, their neighbors show up and help with their work. And we all know that the work has to be done. And we all know that at some point we're going to be the ones who need help. And these are principles that apply everywhere, but I think they're just obvious and easy to learn in these small towns where people are involved in agriculture, they're dependent on natural resources to make a living. They know, everyone knows their neighbors, they're probably related to their neighbors, and everything you do comes back around eventually.
It really does, and it goes to, you know, I was speaking with a couple of the Farm Bureau Federation members yesterday, and you know, it came across of, well, thank you, McKennan, so much for, and I said, no, it has nothing to do with me in having a conversation. I have this really, it's a good and bad thing, but I just have the ability to always show up.
Yeah.
And I learned how to show up because of my heritage and because of my small roots.
Yeah.
Or my roots in, you know, in this community, but the ability to purely just show up and help where you can and leave good feelings. You know, everybody remembers the feeling.
Yep.
They very rarely remember, verbatim at least, what type of words were exchanged or what type of information was exchanged, but they always remember the feeling that somebody leaves with them.
Yep.
With all of the other things going on, where do you find time to relax? What do you do in your downtime? What are you doing as a human to make sure you're still a human?
I don't have time for downtime right now. This has been a really short race. So I wasn't planning on running for Congress a few months ago. The opportunity came up in June. It is now just barely September. So I went from not planning on running for Congress to we've got a primary coming up in a couple of days, and I will have to relax after the primary.
Fair.
It's called balance. And that's another thing I think, when you're part of the ag community, you learn about seasons. There are busy seasons and there are seasons that are less busy. I'm in a really busy season right now.
Yes.
I don't have time to relax, but there will be other seasons where the tempo's a little bit different and then I can catch up.
Fair. So if you could wave a magic wand and pick your perfect day of relaxing, what would it be?
Well, this is going to sound like a pandering comment, but during COVID, when everything was shut down and I was here in Cedar City, I spent most of my days, I would get up in the morning, have breakfast, then I'd go to my friend's farm and chop thistle all day out in the sun. And it just felt good. Everything was shut down. We all had this pent-up energy, and I got to go out and use it to do chores and take care of things and be in the sun, and it was relaxing. And then I'd go home and have a nap.
Right. Well, and weeding is one of the most rewarding things, at least in my day. I have a small, flower garden. I don't have a bunch in production, but picking weeds is one of the most rewarding things to me because you're working with the earth. You're getting rid of the things that aren't necessarily trapping other flowers yet, but could potentially. And I feel like it's a good symbolism to what we do in our everyday lives as well. Is there's plenty of seeds out there, but is that habit worth carrying forward? Is that conversation, are those relationships worth carrying forward? Are they benefiting us? Are we creating the right amount of synergy? Because at some degree, everything gets weeded and restarted, but you never know what type of plant that you did pick. Those seeds are still there, and your connections far down the road are, hey, I went to high school with that kid. Or, hey, I met her over in college. And again, it goes back to that feeling and creating that synergy. It also goes to show that there's more of a village than we believe. Everybody's like, no, the village is bad, but humans need each other.
We do. I think some of the problems we have in politics and in agriculture right now are because people don't have as many connections as they need. When we were more of an agrarian society, people lived close with their extended families, and you had people who were involved in your life all the time. And it has its pros and its cons, but I think people felt more connected to their communities. And I think
their sense of purpose was there.
Yeah, and they had multi-generations to help them navigate different phases in life. If you're a young mom and your grandma lives next door, you've got somebody there who can say, I've been where you are, and it gets easier.
You're not crazy.
Yeah.
Your 3-year-old's not going to be right. He's going to scream at you. It's okay.
That doesn't sound theoretical.
Oh, man. So many levels.
But I think we have that problem in politics, too. I've noticed there's a lot of anger out there as I've been campaigning, and a lot of the anger is, I can see things that are happening that I don't like, and there's nothing I can do about it. Nobody's listening. I can't talk to anybody about it. The people who are making the decisions are too far away. And I think the answer to both of these is the same. We need more community. We need more connection. We need to show up for each other. We need to listen to each other and take care of each other. The good old-fashioned values of being part of a community.
And I love that because we just did an interview with Mike and Leanne Adams from Parowan Valley, and we hit on the village mentality, and it's really providing more than what we ever could have on our own. And it's not bad that I can't provide everything on my own.
No, you were never supposed to be able to.
Right, you're supposed to be able to lean on each other and to help each other in times of need. Because as you're giving, other people are receiving, which is a lesson. Some people need to learn how to receive, and other people get to learn how to give through those different interactions. And I feel like as small town Southern Utah is, we still have, to some degree, that extent of showing up for each other and becoming more than what we could have on our own. Oh man, Celeste, you are such an incredible person. I really appreciate the different things going on. What